Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, we are from Group 2. Here we want to present our material, a whole class work. Encouraging student to speak. There are two techniques in encouraging student to speak. First, I want to talk about technique in creating student to speak. To build an atmosphere in space, it's very important to set the mood of the classroom, become relaxed, engaged, and lively. Students need to feel comfortable sharing their ideas. Here, teachers need to encourage students to give their idea. We try to include rules such as raising your hands when you have something to say and not calling out. Also, teachers should make sure that all students are involved in the class discussion. Second, create a topic. Creating a topic related to some issue will push students to give their opinion and confidence to speak up, supported by the use of picture, puzzle, or a video rather than give a huge plain statement to figure out their ideas. Besides, create a small group or peer discussion for students to convey their idea and speaking practice before speaking up in front of the class, which make them more comfortable. The third is work on vocabulary. Typically, students have less confidence in vocabulary if they are struggling to find a word while speaking. Additionally, teachers can give time for students to brainstorm and take a note of what they think and how to say it later on. Different from students who actively answer with fast, it will give opportunity to the quiet ones speaking up. Furthermore, if the aim is to make students brave in speaking, teachers are not expected to deeply correct student errors and try to fix it while they speak, causes nervous and uncomfortable for students in speaking. And the fourth is listen to what students say. Students feel more appreciated when the teacher listens to them because sometimes students are afraid of losing face and look foolish, uncool, and incompetent while speaking in front of their friends. Teachers can avoid these issues by positively giving praise, feedback, and support and encourage students to speak. Instead of mock and give a sarcastic reactions to what they said will cause bad impact for them in the long term. The second technique is about build a confidence in individual students. At first is nominate widely in classroom. Here, teachers need to give occasion for students to answer the questions and give their opinion even if they are quieter or louder student. In this case, give a choral answer as well as asking individual questions so a lot of students will get a chance to practice. And the second, ask open question for stronger student and closed for the weaker student. Open questions require a long and fuller answer, such as summaries, opinion, and interpretation. In this case, this open question is suitable for the students who are able to cope with forming longer and talk through an answer. While closed questions are for the weaker students, ones that only need a short or one or two answers to construct the questions. And the third is allow preferred turn. If there are students who might not want to speak up, the teacher can say that you didn't want students to answer in front of the class but keep it by themselves or invite them to have a short tutoring so the teacher can know the reason and encourage them to be confident to speak up more. Furthermore, after the class ends, the teacher can ask students what you would like to do and what you hope to with the learning process. Here, teachers and students can discuss and solve the problem so the students can be active and confident in speaking while learning.
Researching interaction. An important way to increase interaction in lessons is to be aware of what kinds of interaction you have had. Everything that will happen in the classroom must be well planned so that the detailed statistics in the classroom are not surprising because they have been thoroughly researched and disclosed. Technique: mapping interaction. By preparing a simple class CAD containing the students' seat position and their names, the teacher can observe students' interaction. First is quantitative. When a student speaks, the teacher will give a sign next to the student's seat. Second is directional. Whenever a student talks to another person or their friend, the next to the student will be given a arrow indicating that the student is talking to that person. Third is qualitative. When students talk, give the number next to the student as a sign. Then write on another paper what the students talk about and also write down the description of how the student spoke, whether it was slow or fast or some another description about that students.
And the next is about technique in class research. Collecting your own data is the best way if you don't have a partner on it. Count who talk on the question and answer section. Make a sheet with each student's name on it down the left side. Every time a student gives a substantial answer, make a tally mark next to their name. After a few lessons, you should have a revealing picture of who does the talking and who doesn't. Then you can make a summary about it.
Then, reducing unnecessary teacher talk. According to Robalis, unnecessary teacher talk, or usually called as teacher talk time or TTT, means the special language that teacher use when addressing second language learner in the classroom. Teacher talk also everything that use the teacher in explaining materials or communicate to the students. It is important in the learning process. However, it should be balanced with students' role, which not affect them to communicate actively. So, there are several tips for reducing teacher talk time or unnecessary teacher talk in the classroom. The first is keep quiet, then use gesture or body language, and the third is apply different activities. Also, give clear instruction, and the last is eliciting. Keep quiet doesn't mean that the teacher should be quiet or silent all of the time, but it means that when teachers give a question to the students, they should allow them to think. Usually, the students will be silent at the time, which not always have negative side, but they are still processing the information they given from the teachers. So, when providing question, the students need time for thinking about their answer. It also, teachers will not only answer the students' comprehend, but also teacher will know the students' perspective about the materials. And then, use gesture or body language. Exactly. Presenting the body language or gesture will be influenced in the learning process since it can help the students to know the information using nonverbal data. Also, the teacher do not talk more at the learning process. The third is apply different activities or approach in the learning process such as group working, role play, or observation activity. The aim is to give opportunity to the students to talk or discuss with their friends in group working. Then the teacher will control the activity and observe the students' practice. Consequently, the time of teacher talking will be decreased because of the activity or the approach applied. The fourth is give clear instruction. Some of teachers present in the instruction or comment to their student unclearly, so it may make the students think aloud. Consequently, teacher will talk much in the learning process. Thus, address clear instruction can help students to get idea easily and allows the teacher to decrease talking more in the class. And the last is eliciting. What does it mean by eliciting?
Eliciting is a technique to draw out the information from the students by asking questions or giving clues to get the learner's idea rather than explain more. It can be concluded that apply one of the tips that already explained might help to reduce unnecessary teacher talk.
The fourth issue in the whole coursework is dealing with raising hand. So the question appears, should students put up their hands? Several experts say that it is important, but the others argue that the drawback outweigh the advantage. So here I will pinpoint you the two drawbacks of raising hand in the classroom. The first one is encouraging a few show-off in class. Sometimes raising hand is more of a show-off thing. Extrovert students tend to do it more than introvert. You may know students like this. They know the material, but they never raise their hand in class. So please don't get the wrong idea that just because few students do and the other doesn't, that makes those few students smarter or superior in some way. It doesn't. It only means every student are different. The second drawback is decrease students' motivation. For students, not being called on when raising hand can be deflating and dispiriting. What is worse is if it happens often enough, it can be discouraging to the point where they just stop trying to hands up. So are there any alternative? Absolutely yes. Please take a look to the picture. It portrays several alternatives which teachers can implement instead of hand raising. The first one, go around class. Pick students to be asked one by one. You can start by asking more able students first to model answer and then work through, so the less able students can pick up information and are able to answer at the end. Or you can ask simple questions first and build up to more difficult ones at the end. The second solution, use think, pair, share technique, wherein a question is posed everyone and every students are given time to think in silence. Then the students are paired up to discuss their thoughts before finally the class discuss the issue. The next solution is write students' name in popsicle stick or paper. So here the teacher writes each student's name on a popsicle stick or paper and then place it in a cup or can. After asking a question and providing 3 or 5 seconds think time, the teacher pulls a stick or paper and calls on the students whose stick or paper was pulled. The fourth solution is using response board. So each student has a response board at his or her seat. Once a question is posed, all students write an answer on the response board. Then they hold up their answer so the teacher can see the response. The last alternative is utilizing random name selector application. This is very innovative. Students will love it. So use the one which has noise attached. I'm sure that they will really enjoy the process.
Training students to listen to each other. The aim of it is to encourage students to listen more to the other students. Usually, students just takes responsibility like listening and response to the teacher talk, not to the other students. In Jim Schiffner books, there are some technique that can be used. Number 1 is walking away. The teacher walk closer to the students who are speak quietly in a way for make the students repeat so that the other students can hear too. Then number 2 is avoiding echo. The teacher asks students to respond to the other students who are speak. Before that, the teacher must repeat to make the opinion of students A clear and make the other students hear. For instance, students A give their opinion, then the teacher asks to the students B. So students A, you mean that like that, and then students B, do you agree with A? Then number 3 is drawing students' attention to their behavior. When the teacher asks one of the students to speak, but there are other students who interrupt, the teacher can say calmly to remind the students to wait and listen to the students before to speak. Then number 4 is get students to speak to the whole class. When there are students who talk quietly, the teacher can gesture the students to speak loudly, like, don't just tell me, but tell the whole class. Then the last is intentionally not hearing aloud students. Sometimes in class there are students who answer questions quickly and speak loudly. This usually causes other students not to have the opportunity to speak. What can do is when the teacher asks questions to nominated students, suddenly there are students who shout out, and the teacher can respond by saying shh or something similar without looking away at the students who is asked to speak.
Okay, the next is withholding validation of student answer. So there are two techniques to involve students in answering questions, not only the fastest one. The first is not rubber stamping. Rubber stamping means attempting to respond immediately to what they say, perhaps validates their answer with a yes or correct, or by indicating that they haven't yet got the right answer. If doing this, it lets students know where they stand, but it makes also close down many possible ways that the discussion could expand to involve more of the class. So it kills interaction between teacher and other students. So there are 3 steps to train with hold the rubber stamp when you ask the question. The first is acknowledge but don't validate. When a student answer, thank them or nod to acknowledge their answer, or say something non-committal such as interesting, but don't give any response as to whether it is good or correct. The second step is get other student answer. Look around the room and ask another student, do you agree? Or a similar question. Listen carefully, acknowledge, but again, don't respond. You could obviously go on in this way, collecting different student answer and opinion as long as you wish. But even if you stop after just 2 or 3 students have spoken, you will already have a much better idea of what the class as whole thinks than by just asking the first student. The third is confirm and validate. At the appropriate point, after a number of answers, you need to confirm which are correct. Give credit to those who said the right answer, but avoid pointing out or picking those who didn't. The second technique is blank face. Try to practice keeping a blank face that does not give away the fact that an answer is correct. Sometimes teachers are so relieved to hear a right answer that they cannot help leaking the fact that it is right as soon as it is given. Okay everyone, that's all from us. Thank you very much for your nice attention and see you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.